গোপালগঞ্জের
আমি থাকি মজিদপুর সাইদুলের বাসা। আমার বোনে আমি পাই না। আমার বোন কোন জায়গা? আমার বোন কোন জায়গা?
কোমের অডিও আরেকটু কমান। কোমের অডিও আরেকটু কমান।
ঋতু ভাই আর দীপক ভাই এই লাশগুলো আমরা পাইনি, আমাকে মনে হইলো লাশ হাজার হাজার লাশ এখন আসছে, মানুষ আমরা এখানে
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. The images that we just watched will give an idea of the tragedies level experienced by the unfortunate workers and their families. If you have noticed, unless I'm wrong, during the rescue operation, I cannot see any aiding flag or international forces or volunteers storming in to help. Welcome to the podcast series, The Rise of the Global South, Season 2, Episode 14, produced by Enjoy Vintage Sustainable Fashion. The title of today's episode, as many of you has already guessed, is The Devil Wears Rana, for a reason. May I just remind you that the collapse of this collapse was caused by Western powers in retail, and yet the people of Savar, Upazila, Dhaka were left totally alone and abandoned. My name is Iri. I am the host of this independent platform where we value investigative journalism in search of the truth, sharing valuable content, solutions, transparency, and moreover, free speech. Today's event's keynote is Dr. LeeAnn Teal Rutkovsky, and special guest and industry leader, Janine Inselmann, both streaming live from the US. In this episode, we will go through a series of tough and unanswered questions. Question 1, Rana Plaza, an announced tragedy. Have any of the people responsible ever paid for their crimes? What became of the survivors and the victims' family? In the wake of what many in Bangladesh called their 9/11, has the manufacturing industry genuinely changed by adopting safer labor and building standards aligned with international expectations? Despite the serious alerts that led all the other companies in the building to flee before the imminent collapse, the retailer floor stayed open for business until the very tragic end. Whose decision was to keep workers in the factory of death keeping working despite the serious warnings? The other main question and point of examination will be focusing on the aftermath of the tragedy and mainly asking to ourselves, where did the money go? Almost 30 million US dollars were raised and were supposed to be allocated by international retailers mainly involved in the collapse, in this tragedy, to compensate the victims and their family. These funds were managed by Rana Plaza Donors Trust Fund, and the International Labour Organization, also known as ILO. Following this and many other labor tragedy, entire regions and communities in the global south have been harmed by the practices of major fashion corporations. And therefore, I think it's time to call it as it is. We are living in the era of Nazi fashion. A list of retailers involved in the Rana Plaza collapse was outsourced from the Huffington Post. We have Walmart, USA, Children's Place, USA, Dress Barn, USA, Primark, Ireland, Matalan, UK, Bon Marche, UK, Cato Fashion, USA, Tex Carrefour brand, France, Benetton, Italy, Mango, Spain, Joy Fresh, clothing line at Loblaws, Canada, Industria Christian Ley, SA, Spain, Shine, Taxman brand of Denmark, Jax, Taxman brand, Denmark, M. Corona, Italy, Yes Z, Italy, New NKD, Germany. For your information, over 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, really, our team reached out to several foreign embassies in Bangladesh with an invite to attend the panel of discussion, including an organization acting in support of laborers, which was apparently heavily involved in organizing the collection of funds to compensate the victims and their families. The embassies did not respond at all to the invite, whilst this organization in support of laborers responding by sending a not read notification or receipt to our invite. So another question will be, what are your thoughts on government and institutional representative and their evident lack of interest or support to this cause? So let's welcome our, that's all from me today. So the questions might not be answered today, but for sure, we have raised the questions, and all the people who might be watching the podcast, they might also start thinking, around these questions. Let me welcome today our friend and loyal supporter, the keynote speaker, Dr. LeeAnn Teal Rutkovsky, the founder and CEO of Impact Fashion Hub, a US-based nonprofit dedicated to ethical global textile futures, regenerative creative economies, and cultural sovereignty in design. LeeAnn is also a best-selling author, a major supporter and advisor to the board of this podcast since April 2024, when we launched the podcast. So LeeAnn, talking points will be obviously leading the opening of the podcast, and she will be dissecting the main topics of discussion. Later on, will follow Janine Inselmann, which is an industry leader in recreating retailers, and she's the CEO and founder of Sewing Lab, which was born like a mission of passing on the skills that she learned over the years within the family to sustainable fashion, adapting these skills to sustainable fashion schools and to the future generation of sewers. You can join Janine at Sewing Lab, where she organizes sewing classes and community events. So we will also be sharing all the details where you can reach these two amazing and fearless ladies. Well, that's all from me now. And I would like to pass the microphone to Dr. LeeAnn Teal Rutkovsky.
Good morning. And what I'm going to do before I even say good morning again is I'm going to start with a cold open. In 2013, more than 1,100 workers died in the Rana Plaza collapse. In the years that followed, approximately $30 million was raised for survivors and victims' families. Yet, by 2025, the global apparel industry alone generated roughly between 1.8 and 2.5 trillion dollars in annual revenue. That means in US dollar terms, $30 million to the compensation fund versus approximately 1.8 to 2.5 trillion annual apparel revenue. In percentage terms, the compensation fund represented roughly 0.0016% of 1 year's global apparel revenue. That's based on the low end of 1.8 trillion. The industry generated about $55 billion a day, making the entire Rana Plaza compensation fund equivalent to roughly 2 hours of global apparel sales. For a keynote, that leads naturally into a governance question. If the greatest industrial disaster in fashion history resulted in a compensation fund equivalent only to a few hours of global apparel revenue, who truly bore the cost of Rana Plaza and who benefited really from the system that survived it? And basically, I also have a question that I wrote down after just thinking about this morning. And basically, when you think about it, what industry in the world has the power to bring an entire country to its knees and walk away? It was the 1,100 victims, but it was the entire country that is still trying to get back on their feet. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. And Erie, for all of your efforts and perseverance in pursuing the truth here always. And of course, thank you for inviting me to join you in this most relevant discussion. And good morning, dear Janine. Here we come together again to discuss the tragedy, again, the fashion industry at the heart of this wildly destructive system of governance. But more importantly, we gather to discuss a system, because Rana Plaza was never simply about a building. It was never simply about Bangladesh. It was never simply about a single factory owner, a single regulator, or a single day in April of 2013. Rana Plaza was the visible collapse of an invisible system, a system that has been operating for decades, a system that continues to operate today. And perhaps the most uncomfortable question of all is this: if the fashion industry has spent the last 13 years promising reform, why are we still asking the same questions? On April 24, 2013, the Rana Plaza building collapsed in Bangladesh. More than 1,100 people killed, not to mention the thousands that were injured. Families devastated, communities changed forever. The images shocked the world. Political leaders expressed outrage. Brands promised change. Industry organizations promised reform. The global fashion sector declared that such a tragedy would never happen again. And yet today we must ask, what exactly has changed? Because when we look closely at Rana Plaza, we discover something very profoundly disturbing. The warning signs were visible, cracks had reportedly appeared in the building, structural concerns identified, other occupants of the building reportedly left. The danger was known, yet production continued. Workers entered the building, orders needed to be completed, deadlines remained, the machines started. And then the building collapsed. For me, this raises one of the most important governance questions in modern fashion history. When warning signs are visible, why does production still continue? Because this is not just a question about Bangladesh, it's about incentives, it's the question about power, it's about governance, and it's a question that has appeared before. More than 100 years before Rana Plaza, another tragedy unfolded in another garment factory here on the shores of New York, the United States. March 25th, 1911, the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory in New York City claimed the lives of 146 garment workers. Most were young immigrant women. They called it the schmata business, which my family was involved in. The circumstance not in the shirtwaist factory, but between New England and the schmata business in New York City. Most, of course, were young immigrant women, as my family was. The circumstances sound remarkably familiar. Unsafe conditions were known. Workers raised concerns. Warnings existed. Economic pressures prevailed. And the catastrophe followed. A century separates Triangle Shirtwaist from Rana Plaza. Different countries, different political systems, different technologies, different economic models, yet the same structural patterns appear. Warnings, production pressure, worker vulnerability, boom, catastrophe. Promises of reform, heard that before. Eventually, collective forgetting. That continuity should concern all of us because it suggests that Rana Plaza was not an isolated failure. It was a symptom of a governance model that remains largely intact, and that governance model has a name. Drum roll, please. Self-regulation. You've heard that across my lips many times, but it's plain and simple. For decades, the fashion industry has governed itself through voluntary systems, voluntary codes of conduct, voluntary audits. As a matter of fact, I was in Copenhagen, Denmark at the Global Fashion Agenda's early, conference in Copenhagen. I think it was like 2011. It was a huge thing. They got together with the United Nations and they launched the first code of ever fashion code of conduct. Well, big deal. They spent a ton of money researching it and producing it and publishing it and having this big fancy conference, but it was voluntary. Voluntary sustainability reports, voluntary audits, voluntary certifications, voluntary blah, blah, blah. So, I'll just cut off about 10 minutes right there. If self-regulation works, why do these tragedies continue? Because the industry investigates itself, audits itself, and ultimately the model has to change or nothing will. Ultimately, when it gets down to the point where how much money has been spent discussing reform compared to actually transforming the conditions. So what happens when these tragedies occur, it just sort of gives life to another industry, and it's the recovery industry, and the fashion industry at large benefits. Oh, we need a committee for this. Oh, we need a committee for that. We need to get money from here. Okay, 40 million, 100 million, yet only 30 million goes to the compensation of the victims. And that's only 1,100 people. It did nothing to help the complete decimation of the brand of the country of Bangladesh. So because going back to the Triangle Shirtwaist, it revealed the failure of employee self-regulation in 1911, employer self-regulation. Rana Plaza revealed the failure of global supply chain self-regulation in 2013. The next stage of reform must be fundamentally different. It must be based upon oversight. And it needs to have terms and conditions where people are actually held accountable. So it is not about reliving the past. It's about preventing the future from repeating it. Because the true measure of an industry is not what it says after a tragedy. The true measure is whether it's willing to change the structures that made the tragedy possible. And that is the question before us today. Not simply what happened at Rana Plaza, but whether we have the courage to finally address the governance system beneath it. And ultimately, that is the question. I hope I'm not running on too long here, but I consider
No,
this an
absolutely, LeeAnn. No, it's
Okay,
never.
so I started thinking about it, and I personally, and I know that I have colleagues in the same, we're in the same boat. It's blah blah. Actually, I am very vocal, and I had spoken out about the Met Gala, and there were two television personalities here in the United States, Michael Savage and Rob Finnerty, and they both appeared on a Newsmax on different Newsmax channels, and they went right after. I said, "Oh my God, this is great! We have an ally." So I reached out to both of them. Crickets. You know why? Because it gave them sound bites. It talked about one thing, it gave them, viewership for, 10 minutes, and then it fizzled out. So I still have notes into these two TV personalities, and, who knows? But we have to come up with a plan. Ending fashion's reliance on self-regulation after Rana Plaza, I see as the core objective, creating a legally enforceable governance pathway that moves the fashion industry away from voluntary self-regulation and toward independent, worker-centered, publicly accountable oversight. The central thesis is basically it inspired me from the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory, because when you think about it, the same old thing and the same old crap. The families back then in 1911 were pleading, and I think they ended up getting like $300 or $400 a piece or something. It was like disgusting, and maybe they buried them. I forget about that. I just must have buried that in my mind. But it was, nothing happened to the building owners. They locked the doors so the girls couldn't go to the bathroom. I mean, it was just, it gets to the point. Haven't we heard this somewhere before? It was unbelievable. Even when the factory was burning, they didn't let the girls out. So, not shocking. It is shocking, but we should be far more shocked. But we're getting it actually is getting to be street talk. Basically, what I want to do is suggest that we have a strategic name, the Fashion Supply Chain Accountability and Anti-Self-Regulation Act. Nothing fancy. It's exactly what it needs to do. And that's what we call it. The core problem: fashion industry continues to rely on voluntary codes of conduct, brand funded audits, industry-led certification. As a matter of fact, I thought it was amazing. They found Benetton shirts all over the place, and Benetton said, "Wow, we didn't do that. We were using. Oh, we didn't know. Yeah, right." So, industry-led certification, corporate sustainability reports, mechanisms that improve documentation, but they do not adequately redistribute governance powers to workers. So we want to dig deeper. There has to be a legislative purpose. It should establish that no fashion company above a defined revenue threshold may self-certify, self-audit. And think about it, the certification process, people are getting money for that. You have to pay for the certification. So it's one hand washing the other. Or self-report labor, safety, environmental. Oh, we just produce this stuff. As a matter of fact, in the Birkin bags for Hermes, they have to really basically murder 3 baby alligators or crocodiles in farms in Australia. At one point, they were taking chainsaws and cutting their heads off because it was a better result for the pelt, the belly pelt.
Yeah.
So they can charge $1 million for it.
Sorry, LeeAnn.
But anyway,
I don't mean to interrupt, but on this point, what are the FEMA naked girl, the topless girl FEMA did they have, FEMA, the organization where this girl, they strip themselves, topless, and they always denouncing something, I don't know, some cause, some social injustice. But no one shows up for this baby alligator, for this cruelty. I mean, I don't see any Greta Thunberg.
No, where is Greta? And this is interesting that and thank you for bringing that up because be honest with you, this is what happens again, self-regulation. So in the case of Hermes and other luxury brands, what they do is they don't outsource anymore, they buy the farm so that it's become privatized and it can be private. So they can murder these animals, and these poor little alligators and crocodiles are kept in these farmed ponds, and they poop in the water, and it's disgusting. So they're just basically, it's like a calf being chained to a pole in a barn where they're raising, prize calf liver or something. So, I mean, the industry is just it's not believable, really. So the women that walk around with Birkin bags, I wouldn't be caught dead in one because of what has to go on just to make that one. They have to kill 2 or 3 baby alligators so they can get the tummies, and it's the softer pelt that they can maneuver into the purse. And that's, and it makes it so valuable. So, if that's what value is, you can have it in. And I guess I shouldn't be, going so crazy on that, but no, we know. So, and pillar 4, binding safety and human rights due diligence, basically independent verification, post-disaster legacy review from outside the actual body, so it's not an internal investigation. We'll look into that. How many times have we heard that? Pillar 6, mandatory reform spending and accounting. So you have to have compensation audits accounting for all post-disaster spending. How much did you spend on conferences, research, consulting? And these people have become so irrelevant, but they still pay themselves, and they pay. It's like, it's really, the fashion industry has money laundering down to a science, right? And a politician puts out a book that nobody would read, but an interested NGO or something, spends $30 million and buys all the books. Oh, it's a bestseller on the New York Times bestseller list, but nobody reads it. They just buy it to launder the money. So it's the same thing in the fashion industry. They have their fancy conferences, their beluga whale caviar, you go to the Met Gala, it's the same. Pillar 7, civil liability for foreseeable harm. So this is getting into the weeds, right? It's getting into taking responsibility. And basically, ultimately, that would be the story. I'm just getting all worked up. But ultimately, we want to have an actual piece of legislation that I am actually going to personally work on producing and submitting. Basically, the most likely path that I see, drafting a model legislation that can be introduced at the United States state level, the US federal level, the European Parliament level, the UK Parliament level, Canadian Parliament level, and the UN ILO Policy Forum level. Basically, start with a model bill, not a UN agency. And that would be phase 1. Phase 2, expert coalitions building a coalition of labor scholars, legal scholars, survivor advocates, unions, worker right organizations, ethical investors, former inspectors, supply chain experts, fashion academics, environmental justice groups. It should not be brand led. So somebody like Janine knows what goes into making something, sewing something. She knows boots on the ground. So we want boots on the ground getting involved, because that is the voice that needs to be translated into success here. Basically. Pilot, okay. Yeah, so basically that's basically it. And we want to establish, we don't want to start with proposing a new organization. I was talking about this to Erie this morning. We want to attach to something. This is key here. The International Fashion Accountability Observatory. The Alliance for Sustainable Fashion, to me, for the United Nations, I was so hopeful for that, and it's fizzled. Okay, they've gone to the movie star route. It's the same. It's predictable. But but I'm suggesting International Fashion Accountability Observatory, and basically it would function as an annual global fashion accountability report, create a database of industrial disasters, post-disaster legacy reviews, tracking of reform spending, worker governance scorecards, brand purchasing practice reporting, and recommendations for binding law. It could basically evolve into a formal UN mechanism, but to attach somewhere. And one of the recommendations that I have, it could attach to some kind of a UN agency. It could even attach to an academic institution. And basically, I have a recommendation that it does attach to an academic institution, and it would be, I'll go into that at another time, but I'm looking for my notes. But what do you think about that? I mean, it would be
Well,
exactly.
I think that you're absolutely spot on. The problem is that when this tragedy happens, I don't see any humanitarian real action, in support or to prevent the tragedy.
Because there's no
One,
mechanism in place,
there
right?
is
There's no
these
mechanism in
people that
place.
they are not punished. They are not punishable. They are,
Right.
A-list citizen. They get away with murder, basically. And, most of the companies in that list of retailers involved in the crash, in the collapse, they didn't even compensate. They didn't give any money at all. I mean,
because they didn't have to.
They didn't have to, you see. And the owner of Rana Plaza building, I think only in 2017, he went to jail for like a very short time in 2017, imagine. So the problem is that we live in an era where there is no, when I started this podcast over 2 years ago, I was focused on sustainable fashion, and I was focused on fighting fast fashion. But guess what? After 2 years of searching and getting into this system and getting all this information, I think there is no difference between fashion and fast fashion. They're all part of the same group. They're all part of the same club of boys, the boys club. They're all in the same club. And there is absolutely no difference to me between what is fast fashion, what is fashion, because they are all part of this Nazi fashion cult. Okay, they don't care about the people they damage. They don't care about the locations, the environments or animals. They don't care about the lives of the workers. That's it. They only care about the money. So it's the entire system which is corrupted, and that's it. And I can only hear in the news, in the mainstream news, any talks about Rana Plaza only when it's convenient for someone to talk about it or to be associated to the humanitarian cause. But honestly, in the videos that I just showed you earlier on, did you see that man trying to excavate in the ruins? and he had like a fan behind him. They didn't have any tools. They didn't even have, most of the people who actually ran in excavating amongst the ruins. They were actually volunteers.
And
there
you
were
know,
no
I'm happy that
international
you're bringing
forces.
this
There were
up.
no international forces. And later on, I didn't see any group of elite, university students from the elite universities in the US or in the UK or in Europe going, outside and just manifesting and protesting against, the death of these poor people. No one cares.
Right. And you know what's interesting, you talk about having the tools and the mechanisms. I mean, offshoring for profit is one thing, but people just don't get it. I remember being in Chile a few years ago, and we were at this restaurant, right? And it was Santiago, and they must have had an earthquake. Well, half of a building was completely collapsed. It was all cement. And they had no way of moving it, so they just continued the restaurant on the other side of the rubble. I mean, they didn't know how dangerous it was. I mean, people don't get the real concept here.
No.
So, but no, that's a brilliant point. And but I think generally the view is through a general lens of nothing to see here, right? It was, a little problem. They're taking care of it. You walk away. You show your wild rage, and you get your sound bites for the internet, and then you walk away.
Well,
yes, and then you can be remembered for being a brand owner that was so sympathetic, and so it's just something that attaches to you, so you're gaining from the disaster.
Yeah, I'm sorry, LeeAnn. Sorry if I keep interrupting you today, but
No, you're not.
I'm so enraged by this tragedy and the total the silence around this tragedy. I never seen any of these Hollywood actors saying, "Oh, we should have gone and help, or maybe we should choose more carefully who is our designer and where is made our beautiful gowns." When they show up to these galas, I mean, it's all fake, and all these people, they're just pretending.
I mean, you can't fight City Hall. It's like what Janine is doing. Should be doing. There should be a cell, a Janine cell in every state in the union, right? In every city in the union, and because it's not, it doesn't do. It's not clickbait, right? And it doesn't sell papers. It doesn't sell advertising. It's it's just not what sells. But it's what she's doing is so invaluable. So, ultimately, I was thinking about the International Fashion Accountability Observatory, which really is what it says it is, and it has to do what it says it is. So my idea was to hook this into an academic institution. And the one institution, not a fancy Ivy League school. I was thinking, the Harvard, pipeline, but it's all about money with them. The Instituto Marangoni, Miami. I don't even know how to pronounce it. You're the Italian.
It's Marangoni. They're based in
Marangoni.
Milan.
Oh, I apologize.
Yeah. Marangoni. No, it's fine.
So Instituto Marangoni, Miami would be my first choice. Why on earth? Well, they have a fabulous fashion program. I could see Janine hooking in with this. It's also at the gateway to South America. It also has the European connection. And it's here in Miami, and Erie could serve as the liaison to the industry because she is up, she's got the boots on. So these poor people don't even know that I'm recommending them.
But thank you for that.
So it's just such a perfect fit. And I was looking through and basically don't leave South America out because they are up and coming on top of things. This is a book that I actually co-authored, and it was published in South America. And it talks about, the dark side. We don't want to be like negative. We're not being negative. We're just being honest, right? This isn't negative talk. This isn't trash talk. Well, if the shoe fits. But ultimately, it would be the perfect spot. I don't know. I just feel so inspired by, having, just thought about it. Now I'm going to say to the two of you, what do you think about it? Don't be speechless.
Yeah.
I think it would be a perfect choice because they understand fashion.
No, they do, but I think it's all, LeeAnn, I think that everywhere you go, especially with these big institutions, especially in fashion, it's always they love to be surrounded by people who are part of the same circle of friends.
It's the system, right?
So
let's see. Let's see if they'll break the mold.
It's the mission that has to be aligned. And like, if we're not pushing the same mission, we're not going to go that far.
No,
I like the idea of like, because I'm more focused on to education, or across all ages, and this is like amazing to have different opportunities. That whatever that I can do, you can do it too, and then we can replicate, we can multiply, and the result will be like much faster than it's just me doing it just like in my area or in my state.
No, I agree with you, and I think that I would be a very uncomfortable presence in an institution like that. They will not feel comfortable, with someone like me, because
I'm still going to reach out to them. But you know what? We want them to say no, or we want them to say yes. But either way, I'd love to know what they think.
Yeah,
and
thank you for that.
Up here in the north, there's another, in the north part of the state, there's another university that I have an idea of approaching. So we can ask, and it will be another part of our story, right?
Yeah.
It'll either strengthen our, right.
Yale
let's hope it's a myth buster.
Let's see.
Janine, what are you saying? Janine, what were you saying?
Yale University also has a different program for sustainable fashion, like sustainability across fashion.
That's a great point, because there's a young master's student from Yale that I've been seeing her posting, different articles on, and because she's from Yale, she's getting like tons of, exposure. So that might be another, that might be a possibility. I'm going to put that down as a possible reach out.
Okay.
I'm very familiar with the turf there.
Oh, also Berkeley, in New York.
I actually taught. I was a faculty there. Many years ago, like I'm a dinosaur, so it was a long time ago.
You're not. So I think many points.
But thank you for that. I'll definitely reach out to them too.
I think many interesting points have been raised in this short podcast. We just wanted to focus specifically on what happened to the Rana Plaza victims and their family, and the reasons why I wanted to invite the local foreign embassies based in Bangladesh, local authorities, international organizations for laborers, UN, all these organizations have been, hammering, we've been trying to get hold of them just to get at least few of them on the panel, just to tell us, to reassure us and saying, yes, we did the right thing. We helped them. We helped the family. We helped the injuries. Yes, we raised 30 million US dollars. And yes, this money were distributed in the right and very transparent way. Unfortunately, all these questions will be unanswered because I couldn't manage to get anyone to speak on the podcast. It's an uncomfortable truth, Rana Plaza. That's the reality. So they want to bury the truth together with the victims who are buried there, who were buried there. And that's it. That's my point. So I want to thank. I don't know, LeeAnn, you still have your
No,
would you
I'm good. I could go on for another day.
Yeah, I would like to.
That's the passion right there. It's like it's usually like that. Once you're in your element, you can keep on going for days.
Yeah. Now, what I wanted to say is that, obviously we raised the questions, although we will have no answer today to these questions for the reason I just mentioned, but at least the questions now are out there. And there will be more people maybe asking themselves the same questions. Well, Dr. LeeAnn, thank you very much for your brilliant opening and your enlightening speech. And I would like to introduce once again our friend and amazing industry leader, because you are an industry leader. You are opening the path to new generations and leading the way to fairness in retail. Welcome, please welcome Janine Inselmann.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be with you again. So you got to walk me through again. It's like this sharing thing. All right. So share. Is it window or
It's you
entire
see
screen?
at the bottom, you see the third button, the one
Okay.
that
So just the window, right?
Yeah, it resembles a laptop with an arrow. You need to click. There is the share screen.
Can you see it now?
Yes,
Can you
we
see
can.
it?
Yeah,
All
we
right.
can. Yeah.
Do it.
When people often think sewing is just fabric and thread? But to me, it's so much more. It's a lost art that has a power to change the way we see ourselves in the world. My turning point came when I first learned about the Rana Plaza tragedy in Bangladesh, where over 1,134 garment workers lost their lives making clothes for a fast fashion industry. That moment shook me. It made me stop and ask, what am I doing about this? That question became my pivot point. It led me to become an ambassador for a remake, a worldwide nonprofit advocating for the people who make their clothes. I created Sewing Lab not only to teach people how to sew. Sewing Lab is about slowing down, creating with intention, and rediscovering the pride that comes from making something with your own two hands. Most of the fabrics we used, 70%, are donated, giving new life to materials that might otherwise end up in the landfill. And here's the best part. Our students don't just walk away with a finished project. They leave with confidence, a sense of purpose, and a realization that sewing is a tool for sustainability as much as for self-expression. We value community. Beyond the classroom, we do our best to educate and connect people by hosting clothing swaps across different neighborhoods, from Leesburg to Alexandria to DC and all the way to Baltimore. These events are about more than clothes. They are about building culture of sharing, reducing waste, and reminding people that sustainability is something that we can practice together. That's why our tagline is Stitching Sustainability, because every stitch matters. Every fabric has value. And together, whether you're a student, a business owner, neighbors, we can build a future that honors both people and the planet. Happy sewing.
Well done, Janine.
I
Beautiful.
love showing that. So now, how do I stop it?
Just
Back in
stop
there.
presenting. Stop
Yeah.
presenting.
There you go. So I love showing that
Yeah.
video. So I go to in Fairfax County, where I live, we have, I was invited by the Fairfax County Economic Development to help out a nonprofit called Think Big for Kids, which is based in Florida. And so they help public schools and mainly, to open up for different careers. Um, and helping out different businesses here in our county. So I am one of the partners for them for the career day where I have to talk about my business, but then I cover so many things. It's not just like a business owner, but also a sewing teacher. And then I incorporate the sustainable fashion. Why I do this one. And then I show them over and over this video. It's like, give me just like 3 minutes and it will change how you see your clothes completely. And then we go through it. And that's my way of educating them that they can eventually, these kids are going to be the target of fast fashion. So my goal is to be able to cut through before it happens that they are going to be the decision makers to whatever they buy, regardless of clothes, even food, all of these things that they are going to buy eventually. And that I am hoping that they will be mindful, like if it's food, do you consider like, the farmers, or for the clothes, do you consider the people who makes those clothes? And just for us to be more of like, yes, we're into like very progressive world now with all the technology, but also we have to keep that humanity in ourselves. And it starts with just these young kids, that bringing it back to them that there's also a lot of people behind the scene to whatever that we have, we are encountering on a daily basis. So that's one of like video that I thought like very, very powerful, because over and over these kids, every class, if I'm talking to between 25 to 50 people, that's 25 to 20 people that I am hopeful one day they will be able to replace me or be one of me who's advocating for the communities, like the people who died during the Rana tragedy. So that's my video. But I would like to share with you my thoughts about where is my notes? See, technology. Dr.
Yeah.
LeeAnn is very good. She has like a printed copy.
Yeah, take your time. Don't worry, Janine.
Yes. So I would like to take you back to the moment that changed everything for me. And it's really has to do with Rana. So before Rana, I was also into retail, but like a small scale. And what we use the last bolts. A lot of companies, when they manufacture, they have like last bolts, like 5 yards, 10 yards. Like, what can you make out of that? Because they usually manufacture hundreds. So in like a 1 yard or like 5 yards, 10 yards, there's not much that you can produce. So that's what we make. That's what we use in creating our clothes. And then as I was doing that, my friend told me that there is a word to how you're doing your business, and it's called sustainable fashion. And at that time, I've never heard of that, like sustainable fashion. And so I Googled it, and it's like, oh my gosh, yes, that's what I've been doing all these time. It's like, it's just like whatever that you're not going to use, I'm going to make something out of it. And then she said, like, take a look at like the Rana tragedy. And this one is, I got obsessed with whatever that I've read. Days that I was reading, watching YouTube, the documentaries, all about it. It's just an obsession because that was the pivotal moment of why I changed how I see fashion, on how we value and how less we value all of these, because we don't know. We are not aware, so we really don't know. So we cannot always put the blame on like the consumers, because the consumers are also not educated on these kinds of like situations behind the scenes of what they buy. And so those clothes that the makers made, unfortunately, you know, fashion is also women targeted problem, because most of the women who died at Rana Plaza, most of the people who died at Rana Plaza mostly
They're
are women.
yeah.
Yeah, so if you think about it, it's not a coincidence, because most of the time the garment industry, especially in the global south, are the workers are mainly women, because they're the one who have less power to say no. And that is a very sad fact, because most of the time they don't have a choice. And that's where I feel so privileged that I have a choice, I have a voice, and I choose to use my voice to be voice for other people who doesn't have that courage. For the incident that happened in Rana, it opened up so many things. That, can you imagine if like your loved one passed away, and then somewhere in different country will say your father or your mother or your sister inspired me, or whatever happened to them inspired me, and so I changed. And so that's what happened to me. And how many more of me had, you know, became activists. I was no longer considered as hobbyist. I'm more considered now as an activist, because I do a lot of things to say no, I cannot do this anymore. And so activism is what I am promoting now, is to be against fast fashion. But it's not like I say, hey, don't buy this, or don't buy too much, or you know, all of this thing. But I give them a solution, like let's try to do some repair, let's try to do clothing swap, and that way people will feel that they can do it themselves without, you know, without thinking that it's very complicated, that there's no way or solution that they can do, or they can contribute to this kind of issues. So this unfortunate tragedy that happened in Rana brought as well good things. First is there are a lot of communities that started to come out. We had Fashion Revolution. We also have like Fashion Revolution. They have this campaign that it says like, who made my clothes? And millions of people around the world contributed, posted. And so that created awareness and created more people, you know, became more people who became more activists on promoting awareness to the people who makes the clothes, and valuing all those people. Remake is also a global community, and I'm part of like the Remake community. And because of that, I became so dedicated ambassador for them, that I try to find my community here in the DMV. We have a good hub, and there are more volunteers like me that we try to be like all over DC. If there are events like, you know, mending or clothing swap, we're always like, we try to be visible and tell them like what's the mission of Remake, which is also about advocating the people who makes our clothes, and you know, their labor, the wages, their conditions, and all of that. We try to create awareness to the consumers that while you're buying, I hope that you will be mindful that those people are there somewhere, and we want to make sure that people knows that sometimes they're not their working conditions, or even the place where they work, like you mentioned earlier, sometimes they can't go to the bathroom like as they like. They have a time. We had for the remake community, we usually have like a monthly online meeting, and then sometimes we will have guests from different companies. We had people as well from Cambodia, where they are union, and they were telling us their conditions in there, and it gets hot. So some countries, no, not some countries, most countries, especially in the south, the weather, it gets so bad. When it's hot, it's hot. When it's raining, it's like, you have to remember these are like some factors that we also have to consider. So we had Fashion Revolution, we had Remake, we have companies as well, and governments and other citizens globally who came out and started becoming activists. So here, if you heard, we had Fabric Act, Fashion Act, all of these, like all volunteers. We're trying to push this until, like, right now there's no way we can push it with everything that's going on politically. But all of that, from that incident, how many people were changed? Just me. And how many more of me? There's a lot of us. It's just like we're all scattered. But then when we gather, we speak the same language. We speak the same grief from those people who died at Rana Plaza. We don't forget them. In fact, they are inspiring us. Like, we hope that they should not happen today or anymore, that they should not be the thing that we can pass to the next generation. And so whenever I teach the class, it inspires me. I don't have to keep on telling the story of that, but making them feel that what these people have done, we could have prevented it. Maybe today, this is what we can do. Maybe we can learn how to repair our clothes so we value what they already made. Maybe we stop like throwing it. Maybe we can give it away if we can still use it. We can find ways to value all of these things that other people already have made with their hands. What's sad is that I'm a mother and I'm a wife, and those women, just like, just you and me today, we went to work just like an ordinary day doing our thing. And then, but those people, those women, they weren't able to come back. They were sisters, they were wives, they're, mothers. And it's so sad. What is it that we can do today to honor them? Is that we teach our generation now of how we will be able to honor those people by valuing what we already have. So Rana Plaza, actually, as Dr. LeeAnn, as you were talking, I'm writing my notes in here, and I wrote it here. Rana gave me and deepened my why, and Remake gave me my who. Sewing Lab is my how. And this is how I'm translating that. After this unfortunate incident, what's next? What are you going to do about it? Yes, we can complain, we can blame, we can do all of these things together, but then what's the call of action to that? What are we going to do? What is my contribution? And my contribution is like empowering these women, empowering my community, this generation, to not only to keep the scale alive, but to also keep the mission of keeping what they already made like more valuable, just like their lives are also valuable. And how many people will be more like them? Those people, they just went to work because they need to sustain their lives. They were not asking, just like big companies, of having millions of dollars and that's it. For them, they were just like doing their job, and that's what happened to them. So for Sewing Lab, our mission is always to connect the community to the value of those people, because when they were makers, you can be maker too, and so you will feel and you will experience how long does it take to make clothes. it's just like so important for me to give value to this kind of skill that most of the time they will say lost art. It's never lost. It was just there in the box, and we just need to open it and then share it over and over again, so it doesn't, it won't get lost. It's right there. So this is what Sewing Lab is all about: a mission of continuing the skill, the mission of having this community valuing environmental issues that caused by but fashion and fashion industry, and how we can be human and connect all of these together, that we care for one another, to include those people who makes our clothes. So, hey, Iri, thank you for inviting me. I love being here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, Janine. Anytime. It's a pleasure, listening to you and watching what you do. I'm a huge supporter of your work on LinkedIn. I always promote your work because it's so fascinating. And it's not only about being a fascinating work. It's a solution. It's a practical solution that should become an industry sector. And I'm thinking, while you were speaking about these poor women, and we talk about women, but don't forget over there, child labor, it's okay to have children working on our clothes. I'm thinking, if you had the financial means, it would be great to start your project in Bangladesh and make all these women, all the people working there, independent from the big, from these retailer monsters, from the Western society. Because imagine they have all this textile there, all these leftovers, from the retail industry. What will become, Sewing Lab will be huge over there, and you can actually free them from the grasp of the Western retailers, not only Western retailers, but nevertheless, this is a practical solution. You see, the solution is you are the solution, and this offer an alternative to women and people who actually do not have an alternative over there.
They don't, because usually they also have financial restrictions. They're the one who doesn't make that much money, most women in there. So they just
Yeah, that's a great point that I wanted to also hop on, Janine. And I think it's wonderful that you have such a great focus on women, because think about it, girls. Women is females are the target market of the fashion industry. And out of the 60 million workers, most of them are women that are mostly abused. And many years ago, I read this book by Jeffrey Sachs, and the person that wrote the foreword was Bono, the musician, and his wife, Allie Hewson, right? And Erie's heard me talk about this. And I remember in the book, it talks about the female garment workers. We don't think of these things. But they sometimes have to walk to work in the dark for 2 hours before they get to their long shift in the hot factory, and they're raped on the way. They have other things that happen when they're not paid good wages. And I bring this out in I have a 4-minute micro documentary that I interviewed 10 women around the world who work in, human rights attorneys, physicians who work in the periphery of the fashion industry globally, in the outsourcing. And basically, these women have such poor wages in some cases, and their husbands impregnate them and then go off, and it's a horrible situation. So they have to work. And when they can't pay their rent in the apartments, they have to give sex to the apartment building owner. So it's it's not just that Rana Plaza collapse. This is a gift that just, it's just ridiculous. So what I'm saying is, I think by empowering them, and Erie highlighted a beautiful point, you know, we have Janine developing this wonderful concept and the idea that does empower women, and it puts the shoe on the other foot, because think about it. These women probably are smart enough to become brain surgeons, but they don't have opportunity. So, and we also see what happened in New England, not so much not New York City, but in New England, when the fashion business pulled out after all of those years, it continues to wreak havoc on the New England area, the most beautiful property in the world. Really, it's just gorgeous. But they're still, the mill towns have run down to the ground. When they pulled their stakes up and decided to start outsourcing, 93 to 95% of the clothing in the United States was made between New England and New York City, and now maybe 3 to 5%. So what happens, Janine and Erie, now, when we have Bangladesh, we have Myanmar, we have outsourced, and we're offshored? What happens when they pull the plug? They're not going to care about these people. They're not going to care about these economies. We see how one building that collapsed in Bangladesh, one building, decimated the country for years. So they are fighting for survival in many ways. And it doesn't have to be the same model, the same governance model that we were talking about. Janine, you're brilliant. So I also want to mention now, for example, Samuel is a partner of the podcast and a partner. He has participated in the park. He's now in Cameroon. He's in Cameroon today. I just got a text message from him. And he just told me during this podcast that we have land, that he's a landowner, loves the idea of the sewing school for these girls that were orphaned from the war, and they are going to cut him a good deal. So we're getting there, because I said, we not only need a sewing school, Samuel, and he goes, I'm driving this poor man crazy. I said, we need land, because the girls need to know that the cotton comes from the soil. They have to take care of the soil. They have to take care of the water. The textiles will grow, and you make blah, blah. Okay. So we see what's going on here. That's why my question to Janine this morning is, Janine, how can we scale this?
Because I think, no, absolutely, because I think she's the solution. And
exactly.
Also, in terms of safety, I mean, if you can if you can take your project there, and in Africa as well, think of all the rubbish they have in Africa, okay? So,
and it doesn't have to be that way. It's by design. It's by design. It doesn't have to be that way.
And the other thing is that with the local government support, they can also build facilities where these girls, these ladies, they can also live there, and then they don't have to commute longer distance. They don't have to be, because they are vulnerable. Okay, so it's a form of protecting them as well. So
they're orphaned already. They're orphaned.
And I'm talking also about Bangladesh and Africa, and just building like a nice, environment, like they can live together by having their own privacy, and they can feel protected, and they can work in a safe environment, earning money and developing a new industry sector, which is totally sustainable, totally safe. And it's nothing to do with the big, huge fashion brands.
Right. And the other thing too I wanted to mention right off the bat is Janine is working in one aspect of the industry, but we know, and Coco Chanel is the first to say, fashion is everywhere. It's here, it's there, it's everywhere. It's not just in the dress. It's not just in, the belt. It comes from somewhere, right? So one of the project, the pillars of the project that I'm working on developing in Cameroon is that we also are going to have an apiary for bees, right? Because you need pollinators to grow the cotton properly, and so the girls will be able to make money with the honey. They will learn how to grow, to develop this, and it is all part of an industry. Unfortunately, people don't see it. When you have 40,000 farmers killing themselves in India because the poison that was wreaked on the cotton fields was just, it decimated their lives. 40,000 is not just like 10.
No.
Okay, it's a lot. So the reality is the industry, and sorry, the industry needs intervention. And what Janine is doing, that's why I'm saying, Erie and I are sitting here thinking it needs to be scaled. But do you see how it's a little mushroom, right? It's not just one encapsulated issue. It can bring in other very healthy things.
I think this she already holds the solution to the problem.
Exactly.
Why in the first place, these big retailers, they manage to recruit all these desperate people. So they thrive on desperation, violence, breach of human rights, you name it. And she's got the solution there, right there. But the only problem is that the solution is in the US, a country who is, already a rich country. It's good what she's doing. It's amazing. But it's part of the politically correct in a good way, don't get me wrong, Janine, solution. But she can actually bring this amazing project where it will become a relief for millions of people, thousands of people working in this industry and being spoiled over there. And with the government support, she could do that with the local government support. And talking of which, we have an expert here, Mr. Michael Sterling Jones. If Michael would like to share his view on this point, because he's obviously a professional and he can actually share his point of view on this point. On this, yeah. I don't know if Michael heard.
Just turned my microphone on.
Yes, Michael, welcome.
You know what I look like. I think that you needn't see me live. I'm in the corner of my office where the signal is weak. So it's best.
We love to hear you, to hear from you, Michael. Your opinion.
Well, I came a bit late to the show because I was hosting a guest puppy. My puppy dog's 6-month-old brother. They're both 6 months old this week. He's staying with us and our granddaughter, and it's puppy pandemonium in our house in this very, very small town of 760 inhabitants that I live in South Bohemia. I don't know what I can add to the rich discussion that I have heard. I was interested in this commemoration. I thought it deserved global attention, and it had been for the past decade or more, a moment for us to really reflect on the ethical crimes behind the global fashion industry.
Yeah.
And that we talked at the last session of this series about the importance of that commemoration. For my own work, since you introduced me as a professional, I always think in fashion I'm not a professional observer. I'm an amateur. I'm a aficionado of sustainability and regenerative agriculture and fiber production. I have been supporting a California-based NGO led by the Indian fashion designer Rana called Fashioning for Social Environmental Justice. And Fashioning Justice.org, our address, Fashioning Justice, has been promoting on the global level the use of sustainable fiber in the creation of fabric. In particular, Runa works as an oceanographer. She works on aquatic fiber, a kind of aquaculture that doesn't involve fish, but involves kelp and algae. And her own business, I shouldn't promote business on this call, but she's involved in promoting the production or the design of fashion using kelp as a sustainable alternative. There are issues, of course, and the issues are ones we're acutely aware of. The environmental impacts of harvesting anything from the sea. It's highly sensitive and highly important that we're aware of that. But at the same time, Fashioning Social Environmental Justice has been promoting the Global Peace Flag, which is a project involving now over 30 countries in which recovered fabric, either from used clothing or from remnants from the workshop floor, so to speak, are used to make flags or patches that get sewn into a larger flag, which we call the Global Peace Flag. And it's now just an enormous project, and all manner of organizations and communities have been able to participate, demonstrating that fashion can be circular, that we should use the resources that we've already harvested, sewn, worn, and now recovered to make beautiful artwork with messages supporting the Sustainable Development Goals of the 2030 Agenda. I am a former United Nations officer, and so perhaps my niche in this ecosystem of regenerative, sustainable fashion has been to help organizations connect to the international community. And we've done this most recently. We have just been selected for hosting a in-person and virtual side event at the high-level political forum on sustainable development in July in New York City at UN headquarters. We will be across the street at the church where we plan to hold our session on July 14th in the afternoon break.
Oh.
2 p.m. The title is a bit...
I would love to attend, yeah?
Yeah, you can virtually. I'm going to attend virtually because I don't travel, as you know, but the title of our event is Fashioning Transformative, Equitable, and Innovative Actions for a Sustainable Future for All, playing off of the main theme of the high-level political forum. But I wanted to raise this not so much to advertise our event, which I hope you will.
No, please mention it.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Please
I mean,
do.
it's really an event about heritage fashion, innovation using natural materials, getting synthetics, getting us off the addiction to synthetic materials based on petroleum and the Global Peace Flag. So it's fashion for peace building, fashion for heritage, fashions for equity. And we have such a fantastic lineup of speakers from all manner of organizations, from Berkeley College in Manhattan, where students have participated in sewing, designing, and being a participant in the Global Peace Flag, which has already been displayed at the United Nations headquarters. So we're working on a second display, actually making dresses from the remnants rather than just the peace flag. So the peace flag is going from recycled fabric to a flag to actual couture. So we're working on that for the upcoming display at UN headquarters. But Berkeley students will participate. We also have representatives from civil society, from academia, from North America, from Europe, from Africa, from India. It's really quite interesting. I'd say cross-cutting group of those who are active in fashion, even the business community. I have to shout out for one design company that is sending their vice president. So that's coming up. The point I then wanted to make is that I was rather shocked that out of the 109 or so offsite and virtual side events, not counting the, I don't know, 35, 40, 50 side events that are being held within the United Nations complex. So there's these two types. You can have it on-site, off-site, or virtual. I guess that's three types. But among this list of 150 plus side events, there are only 2 that have any relationship to textiles and fashion in my survey. And the second one is actually organized by the United Nations Recreation Staff Council. Maybe it's Staff Recreation Council. And one of their clubs is holding a session on mohair and its use in luxury fashion. Strangely enough, has some tie-in with some South African groups and with the Ethical Fashion Initiative. Perhaps the least ethical fashion initiative of the International Trade Center is hoping to be in contact with this mohair group because they also work on sustainable mohair fashion and ethical fashion. Involves artisans in countries where communities have not been part of the global fashion ecosystem. So they're trying to build those connections. But honestly, 150 events, sustainability hits so many high points when you look at it through the lens of textiles and fashion. Everything from human rights to environmental sustainability to environmental justice, economic development, opportunity, women's empowerment. It's so relevant, and yet it is so little recognized by the United Nations system. So we do have the UN Alliance for Sustainable Fashion, and they held an event last Friday, which was hosted in Geneva, and it was available online. About 88 people participated in that. Yeah, shout out to them. But, those are very one-off and very minor initiatives compared to the enormity of the importance of the fashion sector and the social and environmental and human rights that are attached to it.
Thank you,
Michael. What do you? Can I ask Michael a question? Does anybody mind? Is it okay if I ask you, Michael, a quick question? Do you guys?
Yeah,
mind?
sure.
Oh, okay. What are your thoughts on the International Fashion Accountability Observatory as some sort, at least a start of an entity that's addressing, fact-driven consequence in the fashion industry, given what happened at Rana Plaza, the same old story, self-regulation, people pay for their own audits, they pay for this, they pay for that. And it would be basically something that doesn't exist in the UN system, accountability.
LeeAnn, I have strong views on the proper end goal for mobilizing international, in particular United Nations support for initiatives. And I understand everything starts with voluntary initiatives. Everything starts with adopting, maybe negotiating, adopting guidelines, and consensus is a byword among international organizations. However, I come out of the tradition that ultimately what causes change, my theory of change, is that there are strong and enforceable regulations and insistence that there be compliance, and that it not be, region by region, country by country. It's great if the EU has their regulations. It's great if North America and Australia and Japan have their regulations. But, end of the day, my hope is that international sustainability standards will be created and adopted, and that these will be used to judge investments by the financial community in the future of business, the future of our economies, the future of livelihoods for the people. And that if companies are not regenerative, if they're not sustainable, if they're not practicing just economics, then they will be put out of business because they will be decapitalized. I can imagine economies that don't revolve around capital. I haven't met one yet, having lived in socialist Eastern Europe and many other regions of the world. I understand that capital moves nations, and so it's channeling the flow of investment using rigorous standards to score and transparently evaluate companies for their just practices, that gives me hope. And there is a movement afoot to create international sustainability standards. The EU is trying to harmonize their corporate sustainability standards with this international movement. But there have been many setbacks, and it's a decades-long process.
Yeah, and I think that sustainability is something that is just so overused. That's why I'm thinking International Fashion Accountability Observatory, which the real hook for a country offshoring, a brand offshoring, is the lack of standards. Because what you cannot do in the United States, which you cannot do in Europe, you can do in Myanmar, you can do in Bangladesh. Not all the factories.
No, yes, exactly.
One of my closest friends, Mostavus Udin, is the CEO of probably in the 1% of factories in Bangladesh. And they're still reeling from the Rana Plaza issue with the country brand. So, but not everybody runs their jean factory like Mostavus. So it's in search of lack of standards. Not everybody is a Boy Scout.
The problem is that that's why they go and do whatever they want in this country. But if the Rana Plaza would have happened in Paris, in Rome, in London, there would have been commemorations, there would have been, a media coverage, and every year there would have been a big buzz. Because nobody cares, it just happened in Bangladesh. So let's move on. That's the spirit.
Right. It's a disposable issue.
It's a disposable issue.
I don't fully agree with those rather pessimistic evaluations of why the attention is not there on this. I'm more attuned to the ongoing tragedies that keep rolling over decision makers, media, the public. And living close to the Ukraine border, I know that there are issues that the salience of the issue that arises in their own horizon can block out their historic memory and their connection to the tragedies of the past. Fashion's tragedy in 2013, 2014 is relevant, important to commemorate, but actually it's the ongoing tragedy of an industry that is not sustainable today.
Exactly.
The
Exactly.
criticism of sustainability rhetoric, just as it is, when I first heard the term sustainable development, what was that, about 1990, something like that? I
Right.
thought oxymoron, how can it be development and be sustainable? So I instantly blanched when I heard the term.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, that's, sustainable fashion is a moniker that we've used, and we need to just refresh our memory with today's experience, where the tragedies of this economy just keep hitting communities, people again and again and again. So I'm very pleased to learn about the sewing lab. Even Ethical Fashion Initiative still inspires me. They've been in the field since 2009, trained tens of thousands of artisans in how to produce marketable fashion for the international market. So I think initiatives like Asli Filinta in Turkey, who has organized a new women's cooperative with 300 or so members and is producing heritage fashion, recovering old artisan techniques and making beautiful, sustainable, and durable designs. I think, there's so many initiatives that are just bringing hope, but it's against this backdrop of an ongoing tragedy, and in some ways, environmental and ecological crime, which is unfortunately the undergirding this horrific economy of ours.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you very much, Michael, as always. And today was very intense. It was quite an intense podcast, and I want to thank all my guests. I want to thank Janine for being here and for her work, because she's actually doing something. She's not just producing theories, but she's producing solutions. So thank you for your work, and let's hope that maybe you might be able to open, a sewing lab branch where it's most needed. And thank you to LeeAnn for being here with us today and for her support and contribution. And thank you to Michael. It's always a pleasure to hearing your thoughts at the end of our podcast. So it's becoming now a trend. So it's great to have you here. Well, if you don't have any further thoughts to share, or if there is no further question, I think we can close this episode today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just had one final remark.
Please go ahead.
Basically, I had prepared this ahead of time, and I think that just reflecting on this, it's very appropriate. My final remark would be: the Triangle Shirtwaist revealed the limits of employer self-regulation. Rana Plaza revealed the limits of global supply chain self-regulation. The next stage of fashion governance must be built upon independent oversight, worker participation, legal accountability, as Michael was talking about, and public transparency. The question is no longer whether the fashion industry needs reform. The question is whether governments are willing to replace voluntary promises with enforceable law. That is the unfinished work of Rana Plaza.
Yeah.
My
excellent.
final thought.
Thank you.
Thank you, LeeAnn.
Thank you. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here today. And although we might be a drop in the ocean, this drop one day might become a wave.
We're the center waterfall. Are you kidding me?
Thank you very much, everyone, and stay tuned, and I hope to see you next time for another passionate and vibrant episode. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Janine. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
গ্রাম নোয়াপাড়া।
গোপালগঞ্জের।
আমি থাকি মজিদপুর সাইদুলের বাসা। আমার বোনরে আমি পাই না। আমার বোন কোন জায়গায়? আমার বোন কোন জায়গায়?
ঘুমের অডিও আর একটু কমান। ঘুমের অডিও আর একটু কমান।
দিবু ভাই আর দিবুকে ভাই এই লাশগুলো আমরা পাইনি আমাকে মনে হইলো। লাশ হাজার হাজার লাশ এখন আসছে বুঝছে না। নাকি 10,000 মানুষ আমরা এখানে